Hi, welcome back to Sincerely Love, the podcast. I hope that you feel validated, seen, heard, and deserving of all of the love in the world after this episode. On this episode, we are talking about married life, and for me, I feel like I am dating with the intention of being married, being somebody's wife, because being outside is really not for me. I am not for the streets. You know, I tried it in the early 20s and it's just not for me. I am somebody's wife. I want to cook, make bread from scratch, have a homestead, have a farm and animals, my babies, and all of those things. And so we are talking about the challenges that may come up in married life and how a person should date, or some of the things that we should be looking for when we're dating with the intention to be somebody's wife or be somebody's husband. So for this conversation, I felt it best to have it with these three ladies that are joining me today, because in our conversations, we have talked a lot about married life and what that looks like, and I have learned so much from all three of you. So we have Lakeysha Ward, who is a licensed professional counselor, supervisor. We have Alicia Garner, who is a serial entrepreneur and corporate bulldog. I also have Jazmine Graham, who is a licensed clinical social worker, supervisor, joining me today to have this conversation. So yeah, thank you for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. You sound like triplets. Y'all sound like thank you for having us. Did y'all rehearse the intro?
No.
Okay. But yes. I really wanted to have this conversation with you all because, again, like I said, we've had so many conversations and I've talked with you all about me and my relationship and what that looks like, the ups and downs and all those things. So because I'm not, I guess, conventionally married yet, that's my husband, child, okay? But since I'm not conventionally married yet, I'm curious as to know, like, how is married life, or how has married life been for you all overall?
I would let the seasoned lady go first.
So when you say season, what do you mean by you say season?
The years, the experience, the trials and tribulations.
Okay.
I'm only 2 years in.
Okay. And see, I feel like that is a grave difference for like everybody, like that variation that comes, because in terms of perspective, because from my perspective, you're seasoned, like all of you all are seasoned. So I feel like that's a very good point. To you, she may be a little bit more seasoned, and to me, you are also more seasoned than me because I haven't even reached that yet, you know?
Okay.
But yeah.
So for me, I've been married for 19 years. Met my husband when I was 18, and the rest is history. And so when I look back on our progression, on things that we've gone through, the way that we have been able to weather multiple storms, because at this point, everything hasn't been always easy. And a lot of that has been external forces more than us. Because what it really boils down to is a equal respect between you and your spouse to really understand what your needs are, what are you doing in order to grow individually as well as together. I think that a lot of times relationships really struggle because people are growing apart. They're not growing together. And so if you want that longevity, like, you know, we're seeing in our relationship, you have to be open to looking at each other differently, embracing new ideas, having experiences together. That's really big. You know, we try to do as much as we can as a unit versus separate.
So when you say doing things as a unit versus separately, in my mind, I'm thinking about like my relationship and how we like two totally different things. Like our interests are vastly different. He is a hobbyist mechanic, So he comes in with oil everywhere, and I don't like that. I have to clean up oil smudges all day, every day. And I'm more of like a different type of artist, because I feel like mechanics is definitely an artistry in its own right, but I'm a different type of artist, and I really love art. I love museums. I love string quartets, like that whole world. And I feel like when I want to do certain things, he's like, I don't want to do this. Like, he took me to the string quartet for our anniversary, and I think they played like 2 or 3 songs, and I was like, okay, babe, they have an intermission. He was like, so they got another song or 2 and they done? And I was like, no, they have like, it's a whole 30 minutes, an hour more. And he was like, he started scratching his head, and I was like, man, I really want to enjoy this, but I don't want to entertain your salty energy because we got to sit through like an hour and a half of string quartets. But he sat through it. So it could be very difficult to have those experiences together when your interests are like vastly different from what I'm seeing.
I would agree with that, but I would also challenge you and say, keep doing it. Because you'd be surprised, when I first started taking my husband to plays, he was like, what are we doing? And he went to Wicked. And Wicked changed his whole perspective on plays. And now he's interested in going to the next one. What are we doing next? What is the next production that we can go to? So sometimes it's just finding that one experience that sparks that interest for the thing that you love. Now you're bringing them in naturally. So I would say keep doing it. Don't stop, because that's intrinsically part of who you are. And you're not going to be able to change any more than he's going to be able to change. And so I think it's just keeping all of that in perspective and saying, listen, we are both growing, and I don't want to be separate from you. I want us to be a united front, and that's going to look different each and every year.
Right. That's what we've been doing for sure. Like, we have these relationship meetings, I call them, and like we have these shared goals that we have. Like, what do we want to achieve in our lives together? So I feel like we've been doing that in that regard, but also like we love rock music. So, and there's not many, people that look like us that love rock music that I've come across. So I really feel like, that's our thing together. Yeah. What about y'all? Like, how's married life been for y'all?
I think our initial first 2 years, because we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary, it has been a struggle. Like Alicia said, it's external things. It's not even internal things. Unfortunately, a medical crisis happened with my wife's mother, and it turned our marriage upside down. We had to seek counseling, and me and wife are both counselors, which a lot of people are like, oh, how interesting is that? Absolutely not. No, it's not. When you have external factors that interfere, sometimes you can't bring out the therapist. Sometimes it's more so just the emotional pieces that aren't necessarily being addressed in the marriage. So we decided to do couples counseling. It has been amazing. I'm a problem solver. My wife is the emotional one. And clearly I wasn't meeting her needs emotionally, but I was giving her solutions to the problem. So now that we know this, it's more so, okay, well, how are you feeling? Give me some feeling words, tapping into that emotional, physical side of things. And then, of course, if she wants my problem solution, she'll ask for it. And I have to just sit there quietly, because I'm like, here's the problem, here's the solution, let's get it done. She's like, no, I need to sit in these emotions.
Yeah, I feel that, because with my partner, I tell him all the time when I'm talking about something that I have an issue with, I don't always want a solution. One, all of us are successful in our own right. We are extremely intelligent. So we are able to be in an emotional state and also problem solve. Like, that's not an issue, right? But when you want to be in that feminine, be in that softness with your partner, sometimes you just want to share your emotions, and I don't need you to problem solve in this moment. I just need you to be a safe space for me to vent to. And that has definitely been challenging to like get him to see, like, oh, I'm trying to help, and I appreciate that, but this is not that moment. Because if I'm talking about something, he's like, well, what do you think you can do about that? I don't fucking know. And I for damn sure ain't thinking about it right now. I'm just saying that bitch had me fucked up, and I want you to say, yeah, babe, she had you fucked up.
All the way.
But he getting a lot better, you know. This woman cussed me out on the road, and I almost got out my car, and he started off with, well, I don't see how you were so bold to get out. And then he was like, she wrong for flipping you off, babe. I was like, I know. And in my head, I was like, yeah, he got it. Train him up. Train him up. He learning. So yeah, I definitely can resonate with that for sure. Yeah. Well, what about you? How's married life for you?
So I'm actually transitioning out of marriage and just trying to figure out like what that looks like for me, what that means going forward as far as relationships. But what I will say is that I've learned a lot about where things kind of went awry in my marriage, how I contributed to those things, how he contributed to those things, and just like learning forgiveness. And self-forgiveness has been very difficult for me, but I would say that marriage can be a very beautiful thing. And I look at the times that we had where it was beautiful. I got a beautiful daughter out of it. And I'm just thankful for the time that I had with my soon-to-be ex, because I got to grow and evolve as a person that I'm not sure I would be today if I hadn't gone through that.
You have a very healed perspective on the board. Some women, you know, like us as clinicians, like we hear people in sessions that are like do X, Y, they're very rat-tat-tat with their energy, but you have a very like profound perspective on this transition that you're in. Like, how did you get to that point?
I think that I got up one day and I did not like the woman that I was becoming. I was very bitter. I was very angry. I was very just focused more on him and what he did and what he didn't do. And I felt like it was no longer serving me. And so I was in therapy. I stopped going. I'm a non-compliant client, so I'll do the medicine for a little bit, I'll do the counseling for a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. But I think what really happened was I looked at my daughter, and I remember being her age and my parents going through what I'm going through, and I remember the impact that it had on me and still has on me, and I didn't want that for her. Like, I wanted her to be a whole person. I want her to be a whole being. I want her to still have joy and know that you can be resilient. Like, bad things are gonna happen. Like, that is the one guarantee that life is gonna keep going. But I didn't want her to get a shell of a mom or a broken vessel that she felt was her responsibility to put back together. And so I said, well, what do I need to do to heal myself that is not dependent on what he does or doesn't do or what anybody else does? I had to kind of retreat and just deal with Jazz. So
amazing healing, Jazz.
I love that. Thank you.
It's so funny because, like, as you're saying that, because I'm not married, conventionally married yet, that's my husband, I keep telling y'all. But because I haven't reached that point yet and I haven't had children yet, and that's something that I aspire to do, like listening to you reminds me of like this journey that I'm on to like heal. Like I was telling another friend about doing womb work and doing womb healing and doing all of this like introspective work before I have those children, because in terms of neuroscience, like all of this energy that I am harvesting internally, like my child is going to receive, the cortisol levels of my womb is going to grow. If my child is experiencing trauma that I'm going through currently while I'm conceiving or while it's, you know, growing inside of me, like my child is going to increase in cortisol levels because now my baby has to prepare for the chaos that it's coming into, you know, into the world. So what you're saying now in terms of you transitioning like out of marriage and the things you had to do is what I'm also doing before even getting to that stage, like to protect my future children. So that definitely like resonates and kind of validates like all the things that I've been trying to do, because a lot of people are like, well, why do you don't have to prepare for a baby, you just do it. And it's like, no.
And that's how mental health is developed.
Yes.
You know, we're not doing the preparation things. We're not doing the healing journeys, the forgiveness.
Yes.
All of that resentment and baggage that we hold on to, it's stored in our body.
Body keeps the score.
I was
does.
just thinking about the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Absolutely, and it does.
It really does. And I really wish, you know, that I had done some self-work before I got married. I think that I was in a place where I was 35. or not 35, I'm sorry, I was 30, and I wasn't married, and I wanted to have kids, and I was, going through the checklist of things that I've done and still needed to do. And I love my soon-to-be ex. I still love him today, but I'm not sure that we were supposed to be together eternally. And so with that being said, had I worked on myself, maybe I would have seen some of the things that came up in the marriage that I was like, well, that's an absolute no. I would have known who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I was willing to accept and not accept, and just been more aware of Jazmine. But then I wasn't, and I got married, and so I tried to transform and conform and do all the things to keep somebody that may have not been my person. And so I think it's very important what you said about doing the self-work now, whether that's womb healing, getting counseling, doing like self-exploration, because now that I'm transitioning out, I don't know what I like. People are like, well, you're not gonna meet anybody if you don't go outside your house. And then I go outside my house and I'm like, I don't like it out here. I want to go back in my house, so just getting to know you as a person, as an individual, so that when you are in Lish's phase of life, you enjoy the person you're with. At the comedy show I went to yesterday, the man was saying the pandemic really helped some of y'all out because you got to know your partner.
Mm-hmm. Know yourself too. You couldn't run from your problems. You couldn't go to work to run from your problems. You couldn't go outside into these activities to these other people. You had to sit at home by your damn self and figure it out.
And deal with the person. So,
yes. Would y'all say that, so I have this, for me, trying to develop as a person and get out of like this masculine energy, because I was raised by two women that did everything, right? And I had male figures in my life, but there was here and there. And so because in my young adulthood, or younger adulthood, because I'm still young, high fly, but in my younger adulthood, like I was prideful in doing it all myself. And so with this relationship, my partner definitely like reassures me and lets me know, I got it, I got you. And I feel like a lot of people, when I was dating, when I was out there were men that wanted to lead, but they didn't have a vision. And so being in that masculine, I was like, how you want to lead me and you don't even know where you're going? You want me to follow you blindly? You don't have a plan. You have concepts of a plan. Mm-hmm. You don't have a plan, And so I feel like for a long time, I really strayed away from like the intentions of dating to be married, all those things, because I was like, I don't want nobody leading me blind, or, But I also had to realize it's the person that you're with, and patriarchy plays like a huge role in men thinking like, oh, I'm just supposed to lead, I'm just supposed to be the provider, and no, you have to actually like pay the cost to be the boss. Absolutely. So would y'all say like patriarchy played a huge role in your ideals towards marriage as well, or no?
I have always been of the mindset I do things on my own terms. So when my husband and I got together, we were both very honest on what we did well, what we didn't do well, and how we could complement each other. So our relationship has never been based on gender roles or societal norms or who does what. Right. I hate cooking. I told him I hate cooking. He is a fabulous cook. He has cooked for me the entire time we've been together. That's not something I enjoy doing. So when it comes to like finances and stuff, that's my jam. I can come up with a plan, be strategic, figure out what's being paid, when, where, who, where the money's coming from, how we gonna do it. Like that's what I do. So he is very comfortable in saying, handle that. And it's not based on I'm a man and I run this and I know all these things. It's about who's better at doing the task. Right. And so that's where we really focus our energy on is you're good at these things, I'm good at these things, and we stay out of each other's way. Yeah. It's when we try to control every aspect of the relationship based on what everybody else around us feels we should be doing, that's where marriages fail. We don't care what y'all think.
Yeah, that's
what
happened here.
Yeah, like we never cared.
The external factors.
Yeah, like everybody's gonna have something to say. When we moved to the Virgin Islands in 2014. And that was a period of time where I had a job opportunity and it was going to help my career. Now, it would be really, really hard for any man to just give up his job and go follow his wife and be a stay-at-home dad for those 3 years that we were there. But my husband made the sacrifice so that I could further my career. He knew I was struggling being a first-time mom, and he could see me drowning. Like, I wasn't doing well. I really wasn't doing well. So he took it upon himself to say, I care about you, your health, your ability to be full and be yourself, so I'm gonna take the hit. So he moved with me to the Virgin Islands, and it was not easy, y'all. It was not easy.
It was an adjustment period.
It was rough. It was really rough. But during that time frame, he got to see motherhood from a different perspective. And it gave him a different view in terms of when I said I couldn't do it and I was drowning, he got it. Like, it wasn't any conversation around, well, I don't understand why you're having such a hard time, because he was Mr. Mom for those 3 years that I was, working. So he was picking her up from school. He was doing all the bath times, cooking every day, like just taking care of us. And it allowed me to get my head back where it needed to be. That you don't see that every day. So when you find somebody that compliments you and sees your value and sees your worth and wants to invest in you, you got to make that work. You gotta come together and find those things that make you guys stronger.
Yeah, like you saying that, like, so many people are on this whole hype about 50-50 and who gotta pay this and who got. First of all, relationships are not 50-50. It's 100-100, and sometimes I'm not at 100. I'm at 60, so I need my partner to pick up that 40, or I'm at 70. I need my partner to pick up that 30, or vice versa. And that's definitely like how me and my partner operate too. Like, there was a lot of those external factors that you're talking about. There was like, I remember certain conversations that were had with him, like, you gotta put your foot down and you gotta do his foot down. My man ain't one of them beat on your chest barbaric type niggas that gotta,
the macho machine.
Yeah, that machismo, that toxic masculinity, because rest assured, when Corey say something and I know he being serious, I'll be quiet. I done learned. I'll be quiet. But he can be subtle and soft and say, no, like, this is what needs to happen. Or when he gets quiet, I know, like, okay, that's the calm before the storm. I need to go ahead and listen. So yeah, I definitely feel that too, for sure.
So I think from two different perspectives, of course, as a therapist, I try to tell my clients, hey, are you talking about the expectations? Are you talking about the roles? We now live in a society to where roles are not necessarily the traditional woman stay in the kitchen, make the babies, and the man do this. So it's really important for us to start talking about the expectations. What do you expect of me? What is your role in this relationship? Since I'm in a same-sex marriage, I had to ask those questions, because it's like, okay, but typically the men will do X, Y, and Z, and the women will do X, Y, and Z. Like Alicia, I don't like cooking. I'm an order out queen. I will go to a restaurant in a heartbeat, baby, but I am not gonna cook. I'm not the cooker. Can I cook? Yes. Is it my thing? Absolutely no. So when me and my wife got together, we talked about expectations. If I'm good at cleaning, and she's good at cooking, okay, we decided to switch those roles up. She likes to do the laundry, I do all the cleaning, she does the cooking. However, when the external factor happened and we couldn't control and both of us was worn the hell down, she learned a different thought process, because she had that 50-50. We're gonna be 50-50. No, I don't want 50% of you. I need 100% of you. And when you walk in the house, if you only have 20% left, right, after working, say, hey baby, I only got 20% left. Is there anything pressing that we need to discuss or get done? Okay. And if it is, then I can pick that piece up if I have that energy. Shit, if we both come in the house and we are at 10%, listen, we're gonna take a shower, eat some dinner, and get in the bed, because that's what we have. But I think that a lot of times relationships go astray because we're not talking about those changes. We're not talking about those expectations. Sometimes they change as we grow. I transitioned to private practice full time, I think, a year or two ago, and it has been a wondrous journey, but it's also been stressful. But me and my wife had to talk about that, because I've always been the breadwinner, even when we were dating. I've always been the person bringing in the coins, and she brings in lovely coins as well. But I know when my income is impacted, the whole household is tremendously impacted, right? So having that conversation, hey, how do you feel about me going to private practice? All right, let's talk about the finances. Let's talk about the potential what ifs if private practice doesn't jump off, right? Luckily, thank you, it has not happened. And at the end of the day, having conversations sometimes brings clarity and creates a different type of emotional safe space.
But people got to be aware too. Like that awareness of your capacity, a lot of people lack. And so when working with clients as well, like I ask them, like, what capacity are you at? Like, what are you able to give? Because they feel like they got to keep pressing through and keep moving on and keep going and suppressing. And then they turn into an emotional volcano and erupt at minor inconveniences on their partner when things don't go their way, when they aren't able to communicate effectively. So it really starts like going back to what you said, Jazz, about learning who you are and being aware of yourself individually so that you don't impact the relationship, because a happy, healthy relationship involves two happy, healthy individuals. And so when one person isn't happy or healthy, given that 70, 60, 40%, then the other partner can pick up that slack in that moment, you know, to give them what they need.
You have to be able to communicate. That's where a lot of problems come in. We're not necessarily communicating. I don't have the energy or the capacity to be able to do something, and then that volcano tends to erupt, and now we're in a whole different type of shit show.
And I think for me, for a long time, it was very hard to like dial back when we in the shit show. It's like, oh, you with the shits, I'm with the shits too. I'm on whatever you on. So what we doing? And so that energy of Virgo and Scorpio is like, I feel like he's my evil twin. A lot of times, like if I'm on whatever he on whatever I'm on, we at 1,000. And it's like now I done went so far, I can't stop now. Now I gotta show you I'm really crazy. Like I'm really witty. And so I also had to learn that too. It's like I ain't got it in me. I don't want to be that woman. Like what you said, going back to that, I don't want to be that woman. I can. It's there.
Don't call for her because it's
don't send for her because she gonna come. You know. So I feel that too.
You know what's really interesting too, though? I think a lot of times people just lie in their relationships.
Facts.
You aren't honest with yourself. You aren't honest with your partner about things that are probably uncomfortable or taboo. You know, there's certain things that I may tell my husband where I would never tell anybody else because they don't understand or they don't see me. I can be completely transparent and say, I don't like this, even though I'm supposed to, and feel like I'm safe to do that. And if you don't feel like that in your relationship, you end up putting up this facade and acting like, oh yeah, this is me, this is who I'm supposed to be, this is how I'm supposed to act. And you do that for 20 years, and then when you finally can't do it anymore, you crash and you burn.
The resentment has built up, and now we're angry. But we're angry at that person versus at ourselves.
Absolutely.
We didn't do the work.
We just lied.
But that's that secure and insecure attachment, or insecure avoidant, like attachment styles that people have, like the insecurity within themselves. It's like, okay, well, I don't have this, and I don't have capacity to love myself or affirm myself or reassure myself, and you do it for me. So now this is what I'm going to glean to from you. And when you aren't able to do it, it's like, well, why are you here? Like, you're not doing the things that you were doing before that made me feel quote unquote loved. But it's like, that's not love. You was trying to fill a void because you was insecure. But when you have that secure attachment, you're able to do a lot of the things that you're talking about. So would y'all say there's a lot of statistics that researchers are doing or finding on marriages, and there's like 40 to 50% divorce rates right now. What is you all's perspectives on divorce, but in terms of, there's a lot of people saying, well, people are divorcing because, you know, people aren't meeting everybody where they are, or, you know, women aren't allowing men to lead and women want to be the X, Y, and Z, like, especially for y'all being like highly successful, intelligent women. Do you feel like that plays a role in that divorce rate?
I think overall the divorce rate is possibly as high as it is because we're not having conversations. You know, I expect for you to come in this house and tend to my needs, but have I talked to you about my needs? I've had a lot of clients say, oh, well, they're supposed to know what I want. They're supposed to just, you know because they know me for years. Absolutely not. I'm not supposed to be able to read your mind because I'm not a mind reader, right? Right, hello, thank you. So if I'm not communicating to you what I need, what I want, because it does change from time to time, then we cause ourselves to be in this hamster wheel, right? We may be arguing about, I don't know, apples and oranges, but it's really about the lemons and limes, and nobody is connecting the two because our emotions are so involved in it. And we hadn't talked about, hey baby, I want you to, I don't know, give me a massage once a week. That's what I need from you. Versus, man, my back shoulder is hurting, and then just expecting for the other person to jump up. Okay, let me do a massage. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I think there's a balance to it, like the law of polarity, right? Like you have to communicate what you need and what you want and set those boundaries or expectations. But also, it's nice for your partner to be intentional about learning you as well.
Be attentive as well. Attentive and intentional. Yes.
Yeah. So what is your perspective on, like, with your transition right now on the statistics of divorce?
So I think that they're high because society has made it seem like people are disposable and things are temporary. People aren't willing to not only have difficult conversations, but they're not willing to compromise. They're not willing to sacrifice. They're not willing to work hard, like Lish is saying. You know, they're not committed to the process. It doesn't feel good. I said it once or I said it twice. I don't want to. Not realizing the way you said it, maybe the person didn't hear you or they didn't understand. Right. You know, it's just easier to, well, I'm done. Yeah. You know, and it's also the external factors. So if you're talking to people that aren't champions of marriage about your marriage, there you go.
Because it's especially so when you started off in the beginning and you were so positive and affirming in marriage, even with your transition, that's what I was thinking about. Like, you need somebody, other people need somebody like you that's gonna still champion for that, because there are certain people that divorce or were probably engaged, they broke off an engagement, they're like, I tell you, but don't get married, you know, don't do it, you know. But your perspective is definitely encouraging versus, you know, don't get married, don't do this, don't have kids, don't, you know. And it's like, well, you know, that's what I want. So you're discouraging me based on your fears or the things that you went through, your experiences.
I don't think that's fair, you know?
Well, I think about my child, and if she came to me and said, well, Mom, you know, I like somebody and eventually I want to marry them, and I discourage that based on my experience, I'm shortchanging her. Right. You know, I'm causing a sense of anxiety and panic and fear where that is not necessary based on a negative experience I had. And I feel like my mom did the best that she could. You know, going back to the patriarchy conversation, I grew up in a single mom household. My father was active in my life, but my mom was the custodial parent. Yes. So I got married thinking that I needed to carry the load. I needed to do it all. I needed to make it happen, and that wasn't realistic. And it kind of silenced my husband in a way that he was unable to rebound from, because it no longer became about us. It became about me and how I needed to be served and what I needed to be doing. And then when he tried to talk to me, I was closed off, because then I was resentful. Well, I've been doing this. I had to, I did, you didn't. And it just, we never could rebound from that. And so I think it's important, as you were saying, that we are communicative about the good, the bad, the ugly. We don't lie. We show up as our authentic selves, but we have to know who that is first.
Yeah. When you're talking about like growing up in a single parent household, like, or being raised by a woman, that's something. So in doctoral school, like, you know, we do all these different therapeutic modalities and all this. So I did a genogram of my family. And so the purpose of the genogram was to see like the relationships and the marital dynamics. And so I went back probably like 5 generations, and I was able to see how this pattern of women raising children alone, or women being, you know, married, divorced, married, divorced, married, divorced, and like all of this marital discord, and how it created this, like, I gotta be a strong woman, and, you know, I don't need no man, woo, woo, woo. And I really had to like get over that hump as well in my dating experiences, because like you said, when somebody did something that I didn't like, or they offended me or disrespected me, now I cut them off, which it was warranted. Looking back, like, I was right to cut those people off. But I think that in my current relationship, I did the same thing. Like, especially when we were long distance, like, I'm gonna block you, like, I'm gonna run out, I'm a track star, I'm gone, like, at you know, the slightest thing, because you got me fucked up, you know, because niggas is choosing, and I'm ready to get chose, so what we doing? But I had to, but I had to, like, dial that down, because I was like, I don't want to lose this person. Like, this person has shown up for me way too much to lose this person, and I had to decrease that ego so that I could really get what I needed and understand, like, these women went through that, but that's not what they wanted to go through, and I can't allow my life to be my parents' life and their ideologies to take over my life and what I want for myself. So what advice would y'all give anyone about dating with the intention to be married, or for a person that is married and probably going through like a challenging time?
My advice would be, I'm so sick of people saying they don't make me happy. Like, that's not that person's responsibility to make you happy. That's your responsibility. We put a lot on other people to make us whole that's inside work. Like, you can't expect someone to just know or to show up when you don't say, I need you. Like, just do the work first, and then your person will come. Hopefully.
Thank you.
I think we as a society, we're in love with the idea of being in love. We're in love with the idea of the white picket fence, the marriage, the white, you know,
The wedding.
the star, right? Like, people are really into that. And so when you look at relationships, a lot of people see red flags day one.
And ignore it and say, oh, we can work on it. It's fine.
Yes.
It'll go away.
Instead of putting up boundaries. If you want to be with me, there are clear things you have to do in fixing yourself before I even consider marrying you.
Yes.
There are certain things I'm not going to tolerate, and they're within reason. I'm not expecting perfection. I'm expecting for you to understand that there's certain things I'm not cool with. And you have to be able to be honest with yourself and that person, and if they don't live up, be strong enough to walk away. Because so many times people are marrying people because they've got money invested, they've got houses together, they've time, and that is their reason for staying with this person, instead of realizing that ain't who you should be with.
Right.
So you have to really take a moment and think about, in 30 years, if this person is still doing this thing, exhibiting this behavior, am I going to be okay with it? And if you're not, you need to go.
Snaps on that, because I be saying it all the time in sessions, but these motherfuckers don't listen. They don't listen. And that's okay, because that's your life. Do what you want to do with your life.
Right.
You know?
But you're not going to have longevity in a relationship.
Absolutely.
And that's on them to deal with their consequences of their actions.
That's right.
What about you? What advice would you give?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
What advice would you give for people dating with the intention to be married, or for people that are probably married and going through a challenging time?
So people that are dating, I would definitely suggest making sure that you've addressed your traumas, making sure that you've addressed your inner child, because at the end of the day, that inner child sometimes comes out to throw tantrums and does damage to the relationship that you're already in, right? Words are damage. I don't know who the hell came up with the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Absolutely not. I will heal from the physical wounds, but I won't heal from you being abusive emotionally or verbally, right? Talking about those expectations, talking about those roles as you are dating, maybe even talking about futuristic goals. I tell my new clients and or current clients who are dating, hey, we need to be asking the hard questions. What's your credit score? Do you want to have kids? What is your parenting style? What were your parents like when you saw them arguing, and do we adapt to that? How do you handle your feelings? Are you able to address your feelings and identify them? Because of course we know that sad, mad, happy, and glad are just the initial feelings. But because I say I'm sad doesn't mean that I'm sad. I could be lonely, right? Okay, we got to get deeper into those feelings. That's for the, I guess, daters. In regards to people that are already married, let's stop talking about the surface bullshit, right? We need to get underneath that because we've stuffed so much shit under this rug. Now the rug is overflowing with a pile of poo and we don't like the smell. But then we want to talk about, oh, well, you didn't pull my car in the garage like you normally do. No, that's not the problem. The problem is you don't feel seen and you don't feel heard. He's not tending to you the way that he previously tended to you. So instead of us talking about that, we're nitpicking at the things that the other person's not doing or giving. Let's sit down and have deeper conversations. There's so many tools, there's so many therapists, there's so many options for us to be saving marriages. But I tell people, I feel as though people come to me as a last ditch effort and then you want me to play a fucking magician. I'm not a magician.
They say therapy don't work. Well, we've gotten to the last of your capacity. You're at a 1% and you want me to boost you back up? No.
1,000.
And it don't work like that.
It's not going to work that way. We tend to have a lot of garbage to uncover. And so if we as married people start having the more difficult conversations and really tapping into how does that make you feel? When I said X, Y, and Z, what was your feeling behind that? And then have the conversation versus assuming the person has a different type of feeling.
Well, you ladies have given me like a wealth of information as always, and for the listeners and viewers, like I really feel like there's something at each stage of either dating or been married for several decades, just got married, still in the honeymoon phase, or even transitioning to.
Honey, I haven't been in the honeymoon phase just because of the external factors.
Well, damn, excuse me.
We hadn't had a honeymoon phase. I think once things calm down, then we'll get there. Yeah.
But make that a priority because it was the same for me. We never had a honeymoon phase. It was, we got married on Sunday and Wednesday, shit started hitting the fan. Yes. So make that, please make that a priority.
But like even like you transitioning from marriage and divorcing, I feel like there's still like a wealth of information that you have given like the viewers and listeners as well for people that are going through that transition too, and something for people dating, because like I got something from what you said to definitely keep into perspective in my relationship. So thank you ladies for joining Sincerely Love for this conversation today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all for joining Sincerely Love today. Remember to keep embracing the beauty of love and the power that it holds, no matter how much the world tries to convince you otherwise. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, or leave a comment. Until next time, may your hearts be full and your connections deep. This has been Sincerely Love, the podcast.